Hello, I'm Paul Werlin with Arlington Public News, and we're pleased to be here tonight at Arlington's Robbins Library for an evening with three authors, and we'll be talking to them about their works and a little bit about their process of writing the novels.
I'm one of those strange people. I knew what I wanted to do from the time that I was 5 years old, apparently. My mother still kept a sheet of paper I wrote out in kindergarten that said, when I grow up, I'm either going to be a writer or middle linebacker for the Green Bay Packers. And given my body type, I think I probably made the right choice.
I was a medical writer, actually. It wasn't until I was about 40 that I started doing creative writing of any kind. And it kind of came out of nowhere. It wasn't something I chose to do. I just started waking up in the night with a voice in my head, and that sounds kind of crazy, but it was a very compelling voice, and it turned out to be the voice of the main character of the novel.
I started off in literature, and then I went to opera grad school, and then I did go to medical school, and I worked as a physician for a few years before I started seriously working on this book. The story of the third son is inspired by my parents' story. My father had actually had a pretty difficult childhood, and that it had been my mother who had been the one to believe in him and get him to believe in himself and overcome this difficulty.
It's a literary thriller. It's a crime novel that is about a 40-something ex-journalist who has moved back to Boston from Los Angeles after a failed marriage and a failed career to care for his dying and estranged father. And as he's there...
And what was the inspiration behind the story? Why this particular story?
There was a tiny article in the Boston Globe that was maybe 2 paragraphs long about a house robbery that was committed by teenagers that triggered something in me, and that, I think, spun the teenagers getting involved in things that they shouldn't angle.
I had an experience some years back where I thought I had lost a child. It's really about the emotional truth of that kind of loss. And I think that what I have done in this novel is to touch on that and touch on the rawness of that and deliver up an experience that fortunately not a lot of people have had.
Now, since you've been writing for a while and the industry, as we all know, has changed so much with e-books and the internet, what advice would you give to budding writers?
I feel like you have to write because you love it and write what you love, and then treat the business side of it really as a separate portion. Because if you try to anticipate the market or write something for the market will shrink by the time you get it finished.
I love the music of language, and whether I'm writing prose or poetry, I'm very sort of tuned into the sounds, the rhythms. The novel took me probably all told about 14 years to write. After I had a draft, I needed to take time away and figure out what it still needed.
I worked on it for about 12 years. So I think it's more of a question of how much it would require to stop me, because over all those years, I never thought that I would just stop writing this book.
You do the project because you love the project.
Thanks for joining us here at the Robbins Library in downtown Arlington. I'm Paul Werlin with Arlington Public News.